H.G. Wells published The War of the Worlds in 1898, a story so far-fetched at the time that many dismissed it as pure fantasy. It imagined Earth being invaded by Martians wielding deadly heat rays, walking machines, and advanced biotechnology. But Wells wasn't just telling a monster story. He was asking questions we're still dealing with today. What if we're not alone? What happens when a technologically superior civilization encounters a weaker one? How might science and war evolve together? Here's the wild part. Over 100 years later, many of the sci-fi ideas Wells dreamed up are now science facts, or at least within reach. In this video, we're going to look at space exploration, robotics and war machines, heat-based weaponry, germ warfare, surveillance from space, and even the idea of alien life itself. This is a story of how one of the earliest alien invasion stories turned out to be shockingly prophetic, and what it says about our world today. Life on Mars and the search for aliens. Wells' Martians weren't just creatures from another planet. They were intelligent, technologically advanced beings from Mars, watching Earth like scientists or conquerors. In 1898, this was outrageous. Mars was just a red dot in the sky. But Wells wasn't totally guessing. He was influenced by real astronomers of his time, like Percival Lowell, who believed they had spotted canals on Mars, hinting at life. Today, we know there are no canals, but the search for life on Mars continues. NASA's Perseverance rover is actively searching for microbial life on the Martian surface. We've confirmed the presence of frozen water, a key ingredient for life. Agencies like NASA and ESA are planning sample return missions. Wells predicted not just the idea of alien life, but the scientific curiosity and exploration that would drive humanity toward Mars. In a way, his fictional Martians inspired the real Martian science programs of today. Even the idea of Earth being observed by alien life forms now has a place in real science. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, listens for signals from other civilizations, while the James Webb Space Telescope is scanning distant planets' atmospheres for biosignatures. So, when Wells imagined Earth being watched from afar, he was foreshadowing real astronomy, planetary science, and astrobiology. The tripods, walking war machines, and modern military robotics. One of the most iconic elements of the War of the Worlds is the Martian tripods, huge three-legged walking machines armed with deadly weapons. These weren't just alien transports, they were military machines controlled by Martians to dominate humans. In modern terms, these were mechs or robotic war walkers, and that concept is no longer confined to fiction. Today's military technology includes robotic ground vehicles used for reconnaissance and bomb disposal, drones with remote or AI guidance, quadruped robots like Boston Dynamics Spot used by police and military units, prototype mechs in development in countries like South Korea and Japan. While we don't yet have towering tripods stalking cities, Wells' idea that machines would become weapons controlled by intelligent entities, either human or otherwise, has absolutely come true. In fact, Wells predicted mechanized warfare before the tank was even invented in 1916. His tripods inspired the AT-AT walkers in Star Wars, the Striders in Half-Life 2, and countless sci-fi mechs and battle bots. What Wells understood before World War I or modern robotics was that technology would be weaponized and that future wars would be fought not just by soldiers, but by machines on behalf of nations or species. The heat ray and modern directed energy weapons. One of the most terrifying weapons in Wells' story was the heat ray, a focused beam that incinerated anything in its path. It vaporized people, buildings, and machines instantly. Today, directed energy weapons like lasers and microwave beams are very real. Militaries around the world are actively developing and deploying them. The US Navy has tested ship-mounted lasers capable of destroying drones and small boats. The US Air Force is exploring airborne laser weapons to disable missiles mid-flight. Microwave weapons are being tested for crowd control and anti-drone operations. These weapons are silent, travel at the speed of light, and can cause intense heat damage on impact, just like Wells described. Whatever is combustible flashes into flame at once, and this invisible, inevitable sword of heat is the most deadly of all Martian weapons. Wells didn't know about laser optics or infrared radiation, but he grasped the basic principle that heat could be focused, directed, and used as a deadly weapon, and he predicted it decades before the laser was invented in 1960. Spoiler alert, if you don't want the end of the book spoiled, jump ahead to point 5. Spoilers start in 3, 2, 1. Germ warfare and biological vulnerability. The ending of the War of the Worlds isn't a battle won by humans. It's a biological failure on the Martians' part. They die because they're not immune to Earth's bacteria and viruses. This twist is profound and scientifically plausible. Wells understood that every planet has its own microbial ecosystem and that life elsewhere might not be biologically compatible. He wrote, "They were undone, destroyed, after all man's devices had failed, by the tiniest creatures that swarm in the Earth's air." This is now the basis of planetary protection protocols. When NASA or ESA send missions to other planets, they sterilize spacecraft to prevent contamination, because we fear spreading Earth microbes to alien worlds, or vice versa. Similarly, biological warfare became a reality in the 20th century. In World War I and World War II, both sides explored bacterial and viral weapons. During the Cold War, stockpiles of anthrax, smallpox, and plague were developed. Even today, the threat of lab-grown pandemics or bioterrorism is taken very seriously. Wells anticipated a world where biology, not just technology, would shape global conflict and survival. In a post-COVID world, the idea that a tiny invisible life form can halt civilization feels eerily familiar. Observation, surveillance, and space-based technology. Wells opened his novel by flipping the lens. The Martians watch Earth with intense scrutiny, scientific observation from afar. This is exactly what satellites and telescopes do today. We now observe other planets for signs of life or habitability, Earth itself for weather, climate, and human activity, and even distant galaxies, much like the Martians may have watched us. This concept goes both ways. Just as Wells' Martians studied Earth from a distance, modern science is scanning exoplanets, planets outside our solar system, for atmospheres containing oxygen, methane, or carbon dioxide, signs of alien technology or industrialization, a concept called technosignatures. The tools we use today, Hubble, James Webb, TESS, and future observatories, are essentially doing what Wells described, peering across the void, hoping to spot intelligent life. And of course, we now use satellites for real-time surveillance, weather prediction, GPS navigation, and military intelligence, none of which existed when Wells wrote his novel. Global panic and media reactions. When the Martians attack, human civilization panics. People flee, cities fall apart, and society collapses. Wells showed us how the fear of the unknown can cause chaos faster than any weapon. This came true famously in 1938 when Orson Welles adapted The War of the Worlds into a radio drama. Many listeners thought it was a real Martian invasion causing mass panic. Today, we've seen similar reactions during natural disasters such as Hurricane Katrina, pandemics like COVID-19, and fake news and social media hoaxes. The idea that information or misinformation can destabilize society is now a major issue. In a world of instant media, Wells' insight feels even more relevant. If people believe something terrible is happening, they'll act as if it is, regardless of facts. He saw how technology, alien or not, can trigger psychological collapse if society isn't prepared. Conclusion: a warning, a prediction, a mirror. The War of the Worlds was never just about Martians. It was a mirror showing us what it might feel like to be conquered, outmatched, or observed like lab rats. Wells used fiction to warn us about overconfidence in our technological superiority, the ethics of colonization turned back on Western empires, the unseen forces, microbes, fear, the cosmos that shape our fate. And in doing so, he predicted military robotics, laser weapons, biological warfare, surveillance systems, the search for alien life, the psychological impact of mass panic. What's more, he wrapped it all in a scientifically grounded story, inspiring generations of scientists, writers, and thinkers. People like Carl Sagan, Stephen Hawking, and even NASA scientists have cited Wells as a formative influence. His genius wasn't just in the gadgets or monsters, but in seeing where science, society, and morality were headed. Today, as we build artificial intelligence, explore Mars, and scan the stars, we live in the world H.G. Wells once imagined. The question is, are we ready for the aliens, or are we still the ones playing catch up?